They told you we evolved, slowly, randomly, naturally, but what if that was the greatest lie ever sold? Anunnaki, Nephilim, ancient gods, forbidden archaeology. These aren't myths. They are the lost blueprints of human history, sealed beneath clay, stone, and blood. We weren't born, we were built. Before there were kingdoms, there were sky kings. Before there was Eden, there was a laboratory. And before you ever whispered a prayer, your DNA may have already answered to something, not of this earth. The truth has been encoded in sacred texts, scattered through the Sumerian creation epic, buried in the tomb of Gilgamesh, encrypted within chromosome number 2, a fusion so unnatural, scientists still struggle to explain it. From ancient Mesopotamia to Mars, from the chariots of the gods to secret wars over Stargates in Iraq, every whisper leads back to the Anunnaki. So why now? Why is all of this coming to the surface? Could it be they're returning? Are the elites already serving them? Is our sudden leap in genetic technology, our obsession with Mars, with giants, with extraterrestrial contact, a preparation for disclosure? In this video, you'll discover what mainstream science won't tell you, what ancient priests encoded in symbols, and what military whistleblowers risked everything to confess. You'll see why stories of the Nephilim weren't just metaphors, and why the Book of Enoch, the Epic of Atrahasis, and modern UFO files may be fragments of a single, terrifying truth. Stay with me. What you're about to hear may shatter your understanding of history, but it may also heal something deeper, your place in it. If the Anunnaki are real, then you are not an accident. You are part of a divine, deliberate design, and the architects may still be watching. Comment your thoughts as you watch, speak your truth below. And if this resonates with the deep places inside you, subscribe, like, and share this message. Because truth is no longer hiding, it's knocking. And what happens next depends on whether we remember or remain enslaved by amnesia. Created, not born. The Anunnaki genetic blueprint. In the hidden recesses of ancient stone and forgotten language lies a blueprint so deliberate, so divine, it fractures the illusion that we were ever the product of chance. The Sumerians did not speak in metaphor when they inscribed clay with the origin of mankind. They did not theorize, they testified. Their god, Enki, the one they called the Lord of Wisdom, did not merely breathe life into clay. He merged the blood of a god with the dust of the earth. That wasn't poetry, that was protocol. Ancient genetic engineering cloaked in ritual, encrypted in myth, recorded before Genesis was ever whispered into scrolls. The term Adapa wasn't just a name, it was a model, a prototype. And in that story, you were not born, you were built. This isn't fiction. It is the recurring heartbeat in every ancient text that predates our Bible. They tell of gods, Anunnaki, not ethereal and distant, but flesh, radiant, and overwhelmingly present, crafting humans to relieve themselves from labor. We were designed with intention, not as sovereign beings, but as sentient tools. And yet, in that very manipulation, something sacred slipped through. Something divine. Maybe a trace of Enki's compassion. Maybe a crack in their control. Maybe the soul itself. A gift they never intended to give. Look at the human genome, at chromosome number 2. Modern science calls it a fusion. 2 primate chromosomes merged into one. But how? Why? No natural process in evolution has explained it completely. This single fusion is what separates us, Homo sapiens, from every other species on Earth. It's what gave us expanded consciousness, empathy, complex language. It's the breath of gods woven through our DNA. A sealed door opened once, and humanity walked through it. But now pause. What does that mean for you? If the Anunnaki crafted us, then deep within you lives both the clay and the crown, the soil of the earth and the breath of stars. You're not random. You're encoded. And perhaps the uneasiness you feel when staring at the stars isn't fear, but memory. Have you ever felt like you don't belong here completely? Like there's something more, something ancient, calling you from within? That's not imagination. That's the resonance of your origin. You are the intersection of heaven and earth, a spark formed in rebellion and wonder. Comment if you've ever felt like your soul remembers something older than time. Because you're not alone. And this isn't fantasy. It's forgotten history resurfacing. Let's go deeper. Let's step into the sky. Sky kings and forbidden knowledge. They came with fire, not clouds, with instruments, not harps. They did not whisper. They roared. When the Anunnaki descended from the heavens, they brought technology, not theology. And civilization did not grow like grass. It was planted like a coded seed. The ancient city of Eridu, the very first city in Sumerian record, was not stumbled upon by accident. It was decreed. Kingship descended from heaven, they wrote. Again, not metaphor, direct contact. Orders from beings who stood taller, shone brighter, and knew more than the people they claimed as subjects. These weren't gods in robes. They were rulers in radiant suits, beings of immense power who taught law, medicine, architecture, and war. Look at the cylinder seals buried beneath the sands of Iraq. They show the sun at the center, surrounded by 12 celestial bodies. How did they know? Uranus wasn't discovered until 1781, Pluto in 1930. But 4,500 years ago, these ancient scribes carved the solar system with mathematical precision. Not only that, but they understood orbital paths, lunar calendars, star alignments. And how could goat herders have mapped what telescopes couldn't see for millennia? Because the knowledge wasn't born here, it was gifted, or more accurately, it was dripped, one drop at a time, controlled, restricted. The Anunnaki were not benevolent teachers, they were strategic architects. They held back power to maintain control. They gave us writing but not flight. They gave us laws but not liberty. They were building something, but not a kingdom of equals, a colony of dependence. And yet, fragments of rebellion always rise. Just like the Tower of Babel, a ziggurat to reach the sky. Humanity has always tried to climb back to the source, to reclaim what was locked away. Even now, in our modern obsession with space travel, DNA mapping, and zero-point energy, we're retracing steps that might never have been ours to begin with. Here lies the wound and the wonder. We inherited genius, but also boundaries. We were given brilliance, but also blind spots. The Anunnaki's knowledge echoes in us, but their fear of our potential still casts a shadow. Have you noticed it? The unexplainable insights you have, the dreams that feel like distant memories, the irrational hunger for the stars. You didn't make that up. You inherited it. Maybe the greatest war isn't between gods and men, but between remembering and forgetting. We were never supposed to know this. But now you do. And once knowledge awakens, it never sleeps again. Eden or experiment. The Garden of the Anunnaki. They called it Eden, a flat, fertile plain. But it wasn't paradise. It was protocol. The oldest tablets from Sumer speak not of an idyllic garden kissed by divine innocence, but of an operational zone, a controlled environment, where mankind was crafted, tested, and deployed. The Garden of the Gods was not a dream, it was a design lab. The stories overlap with eerie precision. The Sumerian Eden becomes the Hebrew Eden. The rib of a god becomes the rib of Adam. The serpent becomes the symbol of wisdom and rebellion. But behind the poetry, behind the myth, lies methodology. Clay, blood, ritual, science, Enki and Ninhursag, the god and goddess of wisdom and biology, were not mythological archetypes. They were ancient engineers, their roles clearly defined in what reads like a biotech manual from a civilization older than history itself. Why did they choose to create us? Not love, not purpose, labor. The lesser gods grew weary, and so a new being was summoned into being, a hybrid, not entirely divine, not fully beast, something in between. And here's the sacred twist. They did not create us from nothing. They sacrificed one of their own, mixed his essence with the earth, as if the price of life was always blood, as if every human carries within them not just stardust, but sorrow. Do you see what this means? You were never born to be ordinary. You were forged in mystery, in tension, in purpose, wrapped in paradox. You are both captive and crown, both echo and experiment. And if Eden was a lab, then exile was not punishment, it was release. But exile came at a cost, memory. When Adam and Eve were cast out, they didn't just lose the garden. They lost the code, the divine algorithm, the access point. And we've been trying to recover it ever since, through religion, science, spirituality, rebellion. Perhaps what we call sin is merely disobedience to a system built to keep us small. Perhaps what we call faith is the soul's refusal to forget the stars. And perhaps the garden wasn't lost, it was shut down. If this stirs something inside you, let it rise. Comment what Eden means to you. Was it ever a paradise? Or was it always a prison? Share your truth. Someone out there is remembering too. We are not just dust. We are dust, sparked with something ancient. And now, as the veils fall and the whispers grow louder, we approach the forbidden tree again, not with fear, but with clarity. Because knowledge is not the enemy, forgetfulness is. Let us now step beyond the gates into the fire that shapes gods from clay. The Great Rebellion. When the gods waged war power, even divine power, decays under pride. And so it began, not with mortals, but with the mighty. The Anunnaki, beings from the stars whose command shaped rivers and raised empires, turned on each other in a rebellion that scarred the earth and broke the sky. We were not simply witnesses to that war, we were its battlefield. Enlil, Lord of the Command, cold and calculated, grew weary of mankind's noise, our hunger, our chaos. We had multiplied too quickly, questioned too boldly. We were not docile slaves anymore. We were evolving. And so he devised a plan of erasure, plague, famine, drought, and finally, water, a global flood to drown the experiment and reset the divine order. But not all gods agreed. Enki, the very architect of our existence, defied his own bloodline to preserve his creation. Like a father watching his children condemned, he whispered salvation through the walls of a reed hut. He didn't break his oath, he bent it. He warned Atrahasis, the man destined to carry humanity forward, to build a vessel, to endure, to remember. And the flood came, a deluge so fierce it split continents and silenced cities. What had been vibrant was now clay. What had been progress was now mud and memory. Yet life endured. This is not just a tale. Every culture, from Sumer to the Hebrews, from the Hopi to the Mayans, has a flood story. All echo a single cataclysm. All point to a divine reset. But it wasn't just nature, it was judgment. A war among gods, where we were the collateral damage. After the waters receded, the earth did not rejoice, it mourned. The gods convened again. Enlil was furious, Enki resolute. A compromise was forged. Never again would mankind be wiped out. But we would be weakened, our lifespans shortened, our fertility reduced, our memories dimmed, a built-in safeguard against becoming too powerful again. This moment matters. It was the first time a god chose humanity over divinity. Enki's rebellion was not destruction, it was protection. And within that choice was planted the seed of all human sovereignty. Ask yourself, have you ever felt caught between forces too vast to name? As if your soul is pulled between obedience and awakening. That's not confusion. That's remembrance. You are the descendant of survivors, of rebellion, of mercy in the face of extinction. Comment if you've ever felt like your existence is more than survival. Like you were meant to carry something forward. Something sacred that once almost drowned. The flood didn't just wash away cities. It washed away clarity. But the echoes remain. And the next chapter begins in bones buried deep beneath our feet. Bones of giants, secrets in sand, the suppressed evidence. They were never meant to be found. Not their skulls, not their teeth, not their towering femurs or six-fingered hands. Yet they keep appearing in the hills of Ohio, the valleys of Afghanistan, the forgotten caves of Sardinia, the remains of giants, of Nephilim, the hybrid offspring of gods and humans, the broken relics of a forbidden union. And every time they surface, something strange happens. They vanish, seized, discredited, buried again, this time beneath bureaucracy and ridicule. 19th-century American newspapers once printed stories of 8-foot skeletons unearthed from burial mounds, entire tribes of enormous humanoids, some with double rows of teeth, some clutching stone tools too large for any modern man to wield. The Smithsonian Institute was often named in these reports, not as a guardian of history, but as its gatekeeper. In 2002, a story emerged from the mountains of Kandahar that should have shattered silence forever. A special forces unit disappeared. Their recovery team entered a cave and encountered a red-haired, six-fingered giant over 13 feet tall. It killed one soldier before it was brought down by gunfire. The body, reportedly weighing over 1,000 pounds, was airlifted away and never seen again. Military denial followed. Whistleblowers came forward. One pilot swore he transported the body to a base in Ohio. The description matched the ancient accounts precisely. 6 digits, massive frame, inhuman strength. It wasn't myth walking again. It never left. Ask yourself, why would governments fear these remains? Because if even one is real, our history must be rewritten. The Bible's cryptic line, "There were giants in the earth in those days," becomes a headline, not a hymn. And it's not just bones. Strange bloodlines still exist. The Rh negative factor, found in a small percentage of the population, resists standard evolutionary models. It behaves like a genetic anomaly, or perhaps a remnant. Royal families, powerful elites, and ancient dynasties protect it with obsession. Are they preserving more than tradition? Are they guarding divine inheritance? Legends of wild men, Yeti, Sasquatch. They may be whispers of degenerated Nephilim, driven into the edges of the world. Their size reduced, their power fragmented, but the blood remains. You are not hearing these stories by accident. Something is stirring. The veil is thinning. Comment below. Do you believe the giants still walk among us, cloaked in secrecy? Or do you think their legacy lives through you? We are not alone on this earth, not in form nor in memory. And some truths were buried because they never died. But bones cannot lie, and relics still speak. And where there are bones, there are wars for what they protect. The war for relics. Why Iraq really burned. We were told it was about oil, about weapons of mass destruction, about terrorism. But what if the real war was over relics, not resources, over power sealed in stone, not politics? In 2003, just as Baghdad crumbled, something extraordinary happened, with little fanfare. A German archaeological team announced they had likely found the tomb of Gilgamesh, the demigod king, two-thirds divine, who survived the flood, who sought immortality. The discovery matched descriptions, buried under an ancient riverbed, sealed for millennia. And then, silence. No excavation. No international celebration. Just quiet. Shortly after, US troops entered the area. The site was secured. The story vanished from mainstream coverage, but whispers grew louder. WikiLeaks, conspiracy forums, whistleblowers, they all hinted at a terrifying possibility that Gilgamesh's body, or what remained of it, was retrieved. That it held genetic secrets, perhaps even resurrection tech. That the war was never about Saddam Hussein, but about what Saddam found. There were rumors he uncovered a Stargate, an ancient device buried in the sands near Ur, that Western powers invaded not to liberate, but to confiscate, to own the past, and by doing so control the future. The Baghdad Museum was looted, thousands of artifacts gone, some returned, many lost forever, or perhaps redirected. Among them, tablets bearing the name of the Anunnaki. Instructions, maps, even one called the Gilgamesh Dream Tablet, seized by US authorities and only returned in 2021. Why did a clay tablet matter to Homeland Security? What dreams did it contain that were too dangerous to share? Think deeply. If there were a chance, just a chance, that a government held proof of alien creators, of God kings, of divine DNA, would they ever tell you? They don't fear history. They fear awakening. Because when people realize they descend from gods, not apes, they stop submitting like slaves. They start standing like sons. The war in Iraq may have been the opening salvo in a new kind of battle, not over land, but over legacy. A war to determine who gets to shape the story of mankind. And if Gilgamesh has been found, if relics of the Anunnaki are being studied behind closed doors, then the question is no longer if the gods will return, but who controls them when they do. Comment if you believe the war for truth began long before the bombs fell. Let the fire of remembrance light the path forward, because the war never ended. It just changed form. And it's not fought with swords anymore. It's fought with secrets, Stargates, Mars, and the new Exodus. Beneath the sands of ancient Sumer and between the rocks of the Martian surface, there lies a secret so staggering it could reshape not only human history, but human destiny. The Anunnaki were not bound to Earth. They were travelers, gatekeepers of the stars. The ziggurats they left behind weren't mere temples, they were coordinates, markers, stargates, portals designed to bridge heaven and earth. The ancient texts whisper of pathways carved through dimensions, of chariots of the gods, not just flying but transcending. Myths from Babylon to Tibet speak of beings stepping through glowing doors, disappearing into the skies. Even the pyramids of Egypt align with the stars, as if remembering the routes their creators once took. We dismissed it as religious poetry. But what if it was a technology too holy to name? Saddam Hussein reportedly discovered one. Deep in the ruins of Ur, the city of Abraham. Rumors say he stood at the threshold of a functioning Stargate. And just as he prepared to unveil it to the world invaded. Iraq became a battlefield, but not for oil, for access. The Stargate was said to be buried beneath the Great Ziggurat, sealed, guarded, feared. Now look at our obsession with Mars. Suddenly, humanity's wealthiest minds are pouring billions into escaping Earth. Elon Musk speaks of multi-planetary life as if driven by more than curiosity. NASA sends rovers, digs into soil, searches for ruins, not microbes. CIA remote viewers once saw giant beings walking the Martian surface, survivors of a dying world. What if Mars is not our next destination, but our forgotten origin? If the Anunnaki used Mars as a staging point, if our creators once walked there, then our race to reach it is not innovation, it's instinct. It's the soul reaching back to where the body once belonged. Every probe sent, every mission launched is a breadcrumb home, and perhaps you've felt it. A restlessness, a knowing. A voice inside that says, this isn't it. That the earth, beautiful as it is not the beginning nor the end. That there's more. Above, beyond, before. This is not science fiction. This is ancient truth resurfacing. Comment below if you've ever dreamed of the stars like they were memories. If you've looked at Mars, not with wonder, but with homesickness. You're not alone. You're not imagining. You are remembering. And the journey isn't over. It's just beginning. Anunnaki and the elites, are we already ruled? They walk in suits, not robes. They sign treaties, not commandments. But their blood remembers. Their DNA carries whispers of thrones not built on Earth. The elites of our world, royal families, ancient dynasties, secret societies, have long guarded something more precious than gold. Lineage. The Anunnaki may no longer rule openly, but their influence has never left. It lives in bloodlines fiercely protected, in rituals cloaked in secrecy, in global decisions made behind doors etched with ancient symbols. They call it tradition, but tradition is often just memory hidden in plain sight. The Rh-negative blood type, rare, immune to certain diseases, incompatible with others, stands as a genetic anomaly. Scientists don't know its origin, but it's disproportionately found among certain European royalty. Could it be the last trace of a non-human heritage, a mark left by the gods to identify their own? The Bible says the Nephilim walked the earth after the flood. So, what happened to them? Did they vanish? Or did they blend in? Not as giants of flesh, but as giants of power. Their size reduced, but their ambition untouched. Every empire has its priests, every king has his advisors, and every system has its architects, unseen hands shaping the minds of millions. If you feel like the world is orchestrated from shadows, if you sense that certain families never fall, no matter the chaos, perhaps it's because they were never meant to. From ancient Sumer to modern banking systems, from priesthoods to parliaments, the same symbols return: serpents, suns, stars, and wings. But the Anunnaki iconography never truly disappeared. It evolved. But here's the miracle. You're waking up to it. The spell is breaking. The systems built to make you forget your divine inheritance are trembling. You are not cattle. You are not a pawn. You are not beneath them. You are consciousness rediscovered. Comment below. Do you believe some bloodlines still hold power because of their ancient roots? Or do you think the real royalty is the human soul that dares to remember? You don't need their approval. You were crowned the day Enki bled for your existence. And your sovereignty is not in their hands, it's waiting in your memory. When the heavens return, prophecies and preparedness. From Revelation's wormwood to the Mayans' Quetzalcoatl, from Hopi fire serpents to Islamic giants, the world's prophecies speak with one voice. They will return. The Anunnaki didn't vanish. They retreated. They watched. And now, signs point to movement. In 1983, NASA's IRAS satellite detected something massive on the edge of our solar system. The Washington Post published the story, a mysterious object possibly as large as Jupiter. Then, Silence. Years later, Caltech scientists confirmed something is out there. They called it Planet 9. Ancient texts called it Nibiru. What if these weren't predictions but memories of cycles? What if our ancestors recorded not dreams, but history? The Book of Enoch says the Watchers would be judged and imprisoned beneath the earth until an appointed time. Revelation describes heavenly armies returning in clouds. And modern governments? Suddenly they're talking. The Pentagon admits UAPs exist. Israeli generals speak of galactic federations. Disclosure drips like dew before a flood. But why now? Because something is coming, and they know. They build bunkers. They scan skies. They launch satellites, not for communication, but surveillance. They say it's about asteroids. Maybe they lie. Maybe they don't. But what they fear, we must face. If the Anunnaki return, they will not ask for permission. They may come as liberators, or as judges, as parents, or as wardens. And we must be ready to respond not with panic, but with power. You are not just a citizen of Earth. You are the descendant of Skywalkers, the child of rebellion, the heir of a broken covenant. The return of the gods isn't about aliens, it's about identity. It's about choosing. Will you kneel or rise? Comment with your thoughts. What do you believe is coming? And will you meet it with fear or fire? Will we kneel or will we rise? There comes a moment in every story when the hero must choose, not between good and evil, but between truth and comfort, between chains and wings. This is that moment. The Anunnaki, our creators or captors, may soon stand again before us. The skies may split, the governments may confess, the myths may walk. But the real question isn't what they will do, it's what we will do. Will we bow as our ancestors did, trembling before radiance, begging for crumbs from divine tables? Or will we rise, look them in the eye and say, "We remember. We know who we are. We carry your power, but not your chains. You are not less than divine. You are the echo of gods and the cry of rebellion. You are the sacred contradiction, both servant and sovereign, both creation and creator. And now the test begins, not of faith, but of memory, not of obedience, but of awakening. The pyramids stand not as tombs, but as beacons. The ziggurats not as temples, but as maps. Your soul not as clay, but as a scroll. Read it. Rise. Comment now. Will you kneel or will you stand? Because the return is not prophecy. It's inevitable. And when they come, they will see. Not children, not slaves, but equals. And perhaps they will fear us. Just as they once feared what we could become. You were never just dust. You were never just flesh, walking blindly across an accidental planet, spinning endlessly through a silent void. No, you are the echo of something divine, the living record of ancient intelligence, the flame still burning from a fire that fell from the heavens. In your blood, the codes of forgotten gods still sing. In your memory, the tremors of Nibiru, the whispers of the Anunnaki, the truths buried beneath the sands of Mesopotamia are awakening. And now, you feel it. The world is changing. The air hums with revelation. Governments no longer laugh off UFOs. They call them phenomena. Military leaders speak of galactic federations. Telescopes search the edge of our solar system for Planet X, for Nibiru, for something ancient making its return. Whistleblowers risk everything to tell us that giants once walked this earth, and may still do. That bloodlines of rulers may not just be royal, but celestial. This isn't just myth. It's memory. And it lives inside you. You've felt it in dreams you can't explain, in the ache of looking up at stars that feel more like home than the ground beneath your feet, in the scripture verses that speak of watchers, of sons of God, of giants in the earth. In the moment you heard the word Anunnaki for the first time, and something in your chest said yes before your mind could understand, because this story was never lost. It was only hidden, silenced by time, buried by fear, protected by those who would rather you remain asleep than awaken to the truth of what you are, that you are not a mistake, you are not powerless, you are not insignificant. You were designed, not by chance, but with purpose, and your soul has always remembered. There is a reason we build towers to the sky, a reason we map stars even before we understood gravity, a reason children draw wings before they can write words. We were made to rise, we were made to return, and the journey was never just physical, it was spiritual. Because even if the Anunnaki return with fire and craft and power unimaginable, the greatest revelation will not be theirs. It will be yours, that you are not separate, that you are not their property, that in defying destruction, in surviving the flood, in standing through thousands of years of forgetting, you have become something more than a slave, more than a subject. You have become an heir. And now the question is not, are they real? The question is, are you ready? Ready to look at the world not through the lens of fear, but through the eyes of remembrance. Ready to let go of the illusion that you are small. Ready to embrace the divine spark that was placed in you when the stars kissed the clay. You are not watching this video by accident. There are no coincidences in this realm, only callings. So if your heart stirred at any word, if your skin shivered with the truth your mind couldn't yet grasp, if tears came and you couldn't explain why, you're remembering, you're rising, you are part of the awakening. Comment below what in this message resonated with your soul. Say it out loud. Name it. Because in naming what awakens, you give it breath. And if this video has lit a candle in the shadows of your doubt, if it brought you peace on a stormy day, if it helped you remember that you are not alone in this vast, confusing universe, then I invite you, gently, humbly, to support this mission. If you feel this message was a light to your heart, a truth your soul longed to hear, I welcome you to offer just a little energy in return. Your presence, your love, your quiet support, no matter how small, is a sacred gift that helps me continue to share these truths, these mysteries, these revelations hidden since the beginning of time. Every like is a spark. Every subscription is a signal. Every share is a flame passed to another soul in the dark. And your energy, your encouragement, your belief, it helps me keep going. It helps me keep speaking. It helps me bring more voices into the light. Thank you, truly, deeply. Thank you, with all my heart. Because this isn't just a video. This is a mirror. This is a memory. This is your invitation to remember who you are. The Anunnaki may come, or they may already be here, walking among us, but their presence does not define your worth. It does not determine your destiny. You do. The moment you choose to wake up, to open your heart, to reclaim your name, not the one given by systems, but the one whispered in the stars, you step into the story not as a victim, but as a voice. You are not waiting to be chosen. You have always been the chosen. The heavens are watching. The ancient ones are stirring. The seals are breaking. And the light is rising, not from above, but from within. You are the prophecy. You are the return. You are the revelation. And your story is just beginning.